All right, we'll call this meeting to order at 1:33. Our first item on the agenda, our second item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the previous meeting on October 8th, 2025. Those meetings have not been completed and formalized, so we will be skipping that item at this time. Our next is continuation of discussion on possible action items to be considered for the 2026 Meet and Confer agreement. So the list that I have, the first thing on there is, it looks like there was email previously worded agreeable to the two deputy chiefs, in adding a new article or section under that the existing article. Upon identification of available funding, the chief of police will appoint two deputy police chiefs. Do we have additional discussion on that item? I know it was tied to a few other things.
I guess we need to figure out.
Noel, if you'll pull your mic a little closer, and I'm glad I want to remind y'all.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
To make sure you're on green as we go, because public information is not going to be monitoring it for us.
Okay. So with the two deputy chief positions that were brought up, it was our understanding that those positions have to be funded somehow throughout the department. And one of our concerns with this that I think we discussed a little bit is, I think, Tina, you said that we had 28 sergeant positions like on the books and 27. Okay. And how many lieutenant positions do y'all have on the books? Eight. Okay. So we actually have 9 lieutenants right now. So
So currently in the budget ordinance states that there are 28 sergeants and 8 lieutenants. So if we have 9 lieutenants, the ordinance needs to be amended.
okay.
There's 9 and
There's
acting.
9 and 1 acting.
9 and 1 acting?
Yes.
Okay.
The last promoted, when was White's promotion? Do you remember? No, White's.
Y'all named off the lieutenant positions last meeting, right?
Mm-hmm.
The 8 are authorized per the budget ordinance. The 9th is not yet authorized.
I think our point with it was that there's 9 lieutenants. One, that the deputy chiefs be selected from the lieutenant pool, like wording in there that they must be appointed from somebody who's reached the rank of lieutenant. And then the other thing being in there, that we'll have no less than 7 lieutenants and 27 sergeants on the department to prevent any further cannibalization of 7 lieutenants, which is obviously if you have 2 deputy chiefs, that takes, yeah. And then 27 sergeants, which is what we have today.
And that would be the minimal, because as the department grows, the chief may decide that at some point he needs more, and that's between, I guess, the city and the chief. But we just want to make sure that we're not gutting our current rank structure to help fund, other projects. So, and we're going to have to insist that the deputy chiefs always come from the rank of lieutenant.
Noel, did you want both of them to be, or just one from the rank of lieutenant? I thought I understood Jeremy's.
Both of them.
Both of them?
Yeah.
Is there anything else on the deputy chief section that we need to go over? Okay.
I think for the sake of the deputy chief position, I think that's the only request we have.
Okay.
So,
Do y'all want to go into discipline next?
yes, that's
All
fine.
right. Do you want to talk?
So based upon some further discussions with our membership and different people, I guess the best way to say it is someone pointed out where it could be problematic in a way that that we didn't communicate well. And so we ended up talking about it in the privileges section. We're good with leaving that out.
Okay.
There were some other things, but we'll bring those up when we get out of discipline. Otherwise, I think we were pretty much on the same page on everything on discipline.
I think so. And I mean, so long as we're good with the deputy chief situation, I mean, as part of our last counteroffer, we were also saying we would add in the council representation piece, so I'll do that. But yeah, I think we were good on everything else.
Obviously, before this is finalized, we obviously want to both go through the language just to verify.
Oh yeah, I'll work up a clean copy of the whole agreement and send it to you guys.
Okay, so I have the note of being included in the city manager's reviews, as well as those agreements with Brandon that y'all have discussed.
Yeah, that was something that when we were talking about dropping the argument over the privileges language in the discipline section, we would like to put in there, to put in the contract that we will be included at whatever point in the search for the new city manager, since that's also a new thing that came up right before the last meeting, that
Of
Daniel was
course.
retiring. And so we would like to be able to interview the candidates, whatever the final candidates are, and provide written feedback to council or.
My understanding from the last time when Daniel was hired, we did do community meet and greets, and we had special interest groups, including one from the police association. So we fully intend to do that again this time, but we have no problem with putting that in the contract.
Yeah.
And we understand that we don't have a say in the actual hiring, but we just want it to be public record of the opinion and our conclusions of our interview. So, and we'll provide that in written form.
Okay, that sounds great. Anything on our side with that?
That was more detail than we discussed, but certainly some involvement I think Daniel would be an advocate for. He has repeatedly talked about how his discussions with both fire and police associations have been positive and productive. And so I think when the city gets ready to replace him, we'll want a candidate who's able to communicate. I don't know about the formality of everything they asked for. I think we'd want Veronica's recommendation on that, or an HR recommendation on that, but certainly I would expect that the candidates or finalists would.
So the language that Veronica had provided was, a representative of the police association shall be invited to participate in management level meet and greet meetings for the purpose of fostering communication and collaboration between association leadership and the city management as the city recruits a city manager during the 2026 contract year. So I think there wouldn't be any problem with y'all providing a formal recommendation following that meet and greet to the hiring panel.
I think a key part of that recommendation is that we would be afforded an opportunity to present it openly at a council meeting. That the association would be able to openly present the recommendation at a council meeting. I mean, whether the council wants to give us time on the agenda or not is, I mean, we could always do it in public comment, but we would request that we be allowed to do a presentation, not a presentation, but make the recommendation openly in a council meeting instead of being relegated to the simple public comment portion, I guess is what the crux of what I'm asking for is.
I suspect, help me,
I don't know that all of I don't believe council as a whole will be on that selection panel. So I think it might be more appropriate to make that recommendation directly to the hiring committee versus the council as a whole.
That's where I was headed. I suspect they won't have that conversation publicly. And so wherever they do have that conversation, I think that would be the appropriate time and place.
I think we can agree to that.
And whether you want to make that a written recommendation or a come in and present your recommendation, I think they could be open to that.
Okay.
We can work through those details if y'all are.
I think we can, because it's new, it doesn't happen often that we have to have a city manager replaced. I think we can figure that out, so.
And last time we did community community meet and greets, and so there will be plenty of opportunity for more than just your association to come and meet the candidates. Okay, I think we're good on that. Are y'all good with the language that I read? And I can add in there a formal recommendation to the hiring committee?
Yes.
Do you have a preference if you want that in written or verbal communication?
I would say written and or verbal, but that way it could be either one.
Okay. The next thing I have on my list is the sick leave payout, if y'all are ready to move to that topic.
Yes, we're ready.
Okay. I believe everything is worked out on that. The only question that I did want to clarify is for officers who leave and come back. Do their former credits count towards service years? Their accruals would start over. So if you were here 10 years and you come back, your accruals would start over as if you were a new officer. but would your years of service allow you those higher payouts?
I think it would count. Now, they won't have a bank of sick time that they would be able to sell back, but I think currently if we rehire an officer, they get their seniority back, but they are technically starting over with a clean slate on sick time, vacation time, holiday and stuff. Is that correct?
Their accrual level would start over. Your years of service, like for longevity and loyalty, would allow those years, those former service credits to count.
Yeah, I think the thought process is if somebody does 4 years with the city and leaves and then comes back and does another 24 years, that they would be counted as 28 and not just the second time, especially considering if they left early, they probably didn't get paid out for that sick time if we go through with the plan anyway.
Okay, so we'll have accruals start over, but service credit counts. Okay. Anything else on that payout program?
Or do y'all have numbers that were, because y'all said you were going to rework the numbers on that? Do y'all have the numbers for that?
Let me check with Tina. Do we want to talk about financials?
I have a sick leave payout policy that Veronica sent to us. Have y'all seen that yet? Okay. I'll go make copies of this and come back down.
I'll get them. I'll have them break.
Oh. Thank you.
While they're making copies, I can read it so we can start the conversation. Employees who separate from the city employment in good standing after a minimum of 5 years of continuous service may be eligible to receive a payout of accrued unused leave hours, sick leave hours, The amount and rate of payout shall be determined based on the employee's total years of continuous service at the time of separation. So I think we would just need to take continuous out if based on our okay. Eligibility. Employees must have completed at least 5 years of service. Payout is based on employees' accrued unused sick leave balances as of the effective date of separation. And then less than 5 years would have no payout. Years 5 through 9 up to 360 hours, 100% of rate. Years 10 through 19 up to 720 hours, 100% of rate. For over 20 years, up to 960 hours, 720 of 100% rate, plus an additional 240 hours at 2/3 rate. I do want to clarify for sick leave if that's a premium rate or your regular rate. And I have that in my office, but let me check. Oh, the payout will be calculated using the customary payout rate at the time of separation. Years of service start over at the date of reemployment. So this is the section that will be reworded. So we'll reword it to say years of service will be determined by total years with the department. Because I know we do have some officers who have service credit as a civilian versus an officer. So I do want to clarify it would only be years of service with the department. Just to quickly go over in the first paragraph, I took out the 2 continuous. I took out continuous on the first bullet point. And then that last bullet point under additional provisions, I reworded it to say, years of service will include all years with the police department to determine maximum hours paid.
To clarify up front on this, would PSC be classified as PD?
No, they would not.
Okay. Without going way off into the weeds, can you give kind of a broad overview of how you reached the 960?
Jonathan would love to speak to that.
Jonathan Flores, Budget Manager. We took the last 10 years of payouts and tried to find the sweet spot where the hours matched, where the plan would cover itself. So over the last 10 years, this is where we landed, where we could still, at 5 years, give 360 hours at 10, 720, all at that full pay, and then kind of trying to maintain that additional 2/3 for every hour above that 720. So this is where the plan ended up after looking at all those payouts.
So looking at it with, and obviously historical is good for projection, but hopefully there's a behavior modification in there too. And so there's a lot of moving parts with it, and I understand that. We are asking for the members who have less than 10 years to take a cut, more or less, of what they're allowed. Is there a way that we could do the additional 240 at either 100% or do 306 up to 360 additional hours at 2/3? So it'd be 1080 at the additional 360 at 2/3. Basically, either way, either the additional 240 at a full, or make them have 360 extra to get the same amount that 240 at full rate would be.
While we're asking questions, I've got one too.
I'd have to run those numbers between those two options to see how that.
Did y'all want to keep something in there for the folks under 10 years?
Yeah, I think we intended to keep something in there as long as you've been here at least 5.
Okay.
Now, what that is, we had already cut it to 360, so that may be a point of variance that we can look at.
Would y'all be all right if we caucus while Jonathan runs those numbers? All right. We do have a hard stop around 4. So is there anything that y'all would like to discuss, just in case that takes him a little while?
There is going to be a conversation before we caucus. I think Kimberly, because I spoke with Veronica briefly, I had her look at something on our vacation days counting as work days. We found out that the fire department has been receiving vacation counted as work days towards their overtime for over a decade, and we're requesting the same privilege.
I did look into some background on that. It looks like that was changed when they went to a 28-day FLSA cycle. So since their FLSA cycle is almost a month long, they wouldn't be able to take sick or vacation for an entire month without losing their overtime. The other portion of that is they work 29 12 hours per year versus y'all as well as civilians working 20/80. So that would be the reason that they were allowed to have. And I believe at one point it was actually sick and vacation, and the city came back and said, we can't keep doing this. So it is only vacation.
Right, and even in our first ask, we weren't asking for sick time because obviously we don't want to, we're trying to change our sick time plan. We don't want to encourage abuse of sick time. But, I mean, we have officers that are on 14-day, and they're facing the same thing that the fire department's facing on that 28-day cycle. I'd also ask how long they've been on the 28-day.
I believe they've been on that since this switched over. Veronica said it was prior to her coming on. I can try to look back to see when that was, but I haven't found anything that stated when that happened.
Yeah. I mean, I really don't see a difference between, basically for the last 9 years, we've had half the department or more on 14-day cycles, and, well, 8 years, a 14-day cycle. And that the same concern that we had, or that they have, we've had there. And so that's kind of that's why we asked for it initially.
It mostly affects our patrol division. It doesn't affect our specialized divisions as much, although it would be a benefit. But currently, with our manpower situation and things that we're dealing with internally, it would make our supervisor's job a little easier, and I think our administration's job a little easier, because we have officers that are taking vacation days at the beginning of a pay cycle, and then some event comes up and we need help, and we have officers that are unwilling to volunteer because they're like, no, I took a vacation day. I'm not going to go to work for that. So that's kind of our reasoning behind it. And since we didn't know that even before we were even in contract with the city, the fire department had been receiving this benefit, so that's kind of our reasoning with this.
Okay, we will take that into consideration when we caucus. Anything, Orange? All right. We will caucus at 2:03. All right, are y'all ready? We are back from caucus at 2:54. All right, first thing to discuss is the sick leave payout policy. In order to do the 100% rate at the 240, we would have to drop down the 5 to 9 years from 360 to 240. So I wanted to propose two different options and let y'all choose on that. So again, option 1 would be 5 to 9 years at 240, and then the 20 plus years, the full 960 at 100%. Okay, option 2 would be to leave 5 to 9 years at 360 and drop down the 20 plus years to 900 hours at 100%.
The 100% is a benefit to us because it's easier to communicate, understand, and administer. So we like the idea about that extra being at 100%. We think there's some benefit there that we latched onto.
The other benefit to you guys would be you accrue those hours faster than if you were to do the 2/3 option. It would take you longer to accrue those number of hours. Dropping the number of hours back, you would actually accrue them a little faster.
I think we'd be agreeable to the first proposed option that you just gave.
I'm going to repeat that back just to make sure we're clear. We're going to drop 5 to 9 years down to 240 hours. And then 20 plus years will be paid at $960 at 100%. Jonathan, am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, that was the appropriate. The other question being, were y'all thinking at the premium rate or at the base rate?
The additional provision on here says payouts will be calculated using the customary payout rate at the time of separation. So the way we're currently doing it is, I have to check. I believe sick time is at the premium. I know there's a difference between sick and vacation. Sick is premium.
Okay.
I believe civil service requires sick to be at premium.
We're agreeable to that.
Okay, that sounds great. All right, the second item that we discussed was the hours worked. And I'll preface this with there are some federal changes happening which are likely to impact the hours and calculations already. So based on the no tax on overtime provision, so there likely is going to be changes to the overtime codes as a result of that. And I think Michael was going to.
I think we understand your request for an equitable kind of a position there. I think we would also, as part of our response, point out that the current administration of the premium rate methodology pays more than FLSA requires. And I think we'd be willing to substitute or exchange one term for another. In other words, if you would allow that FLSA premium rate to be paid as it is described in the law, then we'd be willing to concede on your proposal.
So what is the current, I guess because we're not familiar with the current FLSA rule or law?
Currently, the city pays premium rate for the straight time and the half time. FLSA only requires it on the half time.
If you would, let me rephrase that because I got confused when they were trying to explain it to me about straight time or the straight piece of the overtime. And so 5 hours of overtime, which is 5 plus a half again, we're supposed to pay premium on the half again, not on the 5. But we're paying the premium rate on both. Does that make sense?
For clarification, does the fire department receive the premium rate across, on the straight and the half?
I would have to look into that and see how they're set up.
I guess our counter proposal would be to leave the rate the same, and I've seen it in another contract. Put in wording that people on a work period that's longer than 7 days be able to count vacation into as hours worked for the purposes of computing overtime. Like Noel was saying, patrol is the one that really gets hit with it because they're on a 2-week schedule, and then somebody's like, hey, we need help. Can we get people to work? And they're the ones generally that are going to respond to those, because specialized units, specialized divisions are probably not going to be able to volunteer to come in, and so they're the ones that are having to respond to that and do that. It would solve the problem that we're having, or at least help to mitigate the problem that we're having of not being able to get people to come in because they're, well, I took vacation last week, so I'm gonna get straight time. While at the same time treating all the 40 hours a week employees or officers on the same scale as everybody else in the city, as far as the vacation counting or not counting as hours worked.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think that would require a whole separate set of codes for those employees. It's on a code level. So if a specialized unit wanted to work that overtime, it would require a separate code than if a patrol officer worked it on. It's on the code setup that we would allow vacation time to be counted. So systematically, I don't know that we could do that.
Can we have a 5-minute caucus?
Of course.
It won't take us longer than 5 minutes.
We'll caucus at 3:04.
All right, thank you.
Are y'all ready? All right, we'll reconvene at 3:13.
Can y'all provide a citation for where you came up with the FLSA rule you were talking about, Mr. Dane?
I don't know where that's specifically listed in FLSA. I'd have to
I
look
mean,
that up.
do you have something to the contrary that
So
you know
well,
of? I mean,
the reason I ask is because we were just involved in something very similar in Corpus Christi, that overtime was not being paid out at the full premium rate, and Corpus Christi is now rectifying that issue with substantial checks. So I just wanted to make sure that we were all looking at it, the right way, because I don't want the city of San Angelo to find themselves in a situation like Corpus Christi where now they're having to cut massive checks because that doesn't help anybody. I just want to make sure that we're reading it correctly on both sides of the table.
Yeah, I would have to pull FLSA and find where that specifically is at.
Just briefly looking at the Department of Labor fact sheet 56A, says total compensation in the work week except for statutory exclusions divided by total hours worked in the work week equals regular rate for the work week, which would be premium rate. Unless there's some sort of
And can you-
statutory exclusions for
What number did you say that was?
56A. Now, this is from 2019. It was a quick Google search of trying to figure it out. So I can't say it hadn't changed. I'm not familiar enough with FLSA.
If you'll give us a few minutes, we're going to look up some stuff. Or do you want to call?
One other question, because you were talking about not having a code. I think you already have a code. It's whatever the fire department uses, whatever code that would be. Could be used as
Y'all have codes very specific to each of your overtime. So DWI, TSP.
right, but this would just be FLSA. Because everything else is specifically paid.
Well, I don't think it'd work the ways the codes are set up, but we can look into it.
For what it's worth, I was just looking at the state comptroller's website, and they even have a specific subtitle that talks about shift differential must be included in the regular rate of pay when overtime is incurred. So I don't want to make too many assumptions, but shift diff is a stipend, and if they're saying that has to be included in the overtime rate, then that kind of leads me to believe that it would be the premium rate for the entirety of overtime. In fact, scrolling further down, other types of payment that must be included is the regular rate of pay, longevity, hazardous, benefit replacement, housing annulments, other special payments, is all falling under the comptroller's definition of regular rate of pay, and it says that the regular rate of pay must be used when overtime is earned.
All right, we are back from caucus at 4:05. Unfortunately, the way FLSA is written, it's very confusing. So I think there is some miscommunication with the term regular rate of pay versus the premium for that halftime. So on the regular rate of pay, you are correct. It does include your ad pays. We do pay ad pays with your regular pay. The FLSA calculation applies to how we're calculating that additional halftime associated with hours worked over 40 or 80 in some officers' case. There are multiple ways you can calculate that. Our software provider offers us multiple ways to calculate that. I can speak best to the one we've chosen and have practiced for years. I did find several examples online calculating it the same way we are calculating it. Unfortunately, I do not have a specific code that clearly says that. So I'm happy to share these examples with you guys. I'm happy to talk through them right now. I really wish I could just say, here's where it says it, black and white. Unfortunately, like I said, it's not that clear. When we brought PD on to the on-call response code, and we did have this debate over the premium rate. Well, and really it wasn't a debate at that time. It was, we brought you on using a civilian code. And so we paid it the way civilian codes are paid, which is the regular rate for the straight time and a premium rate for the halftime. At that time, we did call in an employee from the Department of Labor, and he did verify the way we were using that existing code was correct. And at that time, we did agree to change it for PD only to pay the premium rate for the full time and time and a half. Like I said, I do apologize that I don't have something more clear. I hope that helps.
So, are civilians, non-sworn, paid because the way I understand it, based on the explanations I've found, if you work overtime, your rate changes for every hour that you work, your actual rate. because if you have any stipends or loyalty pay, which everyone has, it should be total hours plus total stipends divided by total hours. So if that's 52, if you work 52 hours in a week and you get $200 a week in stipends, then whatever your normal base rate times 52 plus the stipends divided by 52, which means when you have 52, it's going to be a different rate than when you have 48 and 44 and everything else. And I'm sure that that's not recalculated every pay cycle for every.
Like I said, since doesn't give a true, clear calculation, there are several, I don't want to say generic calculations, that is provided by our software provider, different ways you can calculate it. And the one we have chosen to use is to annualize those ad pays and pay it out.
Yeah, and I don't think we've had an issue with how it's calculated at all. When you brought up changing the calculation of
And
it,
it's not on all of your codes. Only some of y'all's overtime codes are set up that way. And this is where it would benefit the city to clarify y'all's codes, because each one of your codes is set up differently. I mean, whether you work DWI, it's going to pay different than if you work dead body versus if you work TSP versus if you work for SAISD. Each code pays differently. So for us, and I think even for your officers' population, to clean that up, to say, here is how we pay overtime. It's consistent, it's steady, from one code to the next, it's paid the exact same way. So we would like that for, of course, our staff, and also, I mean, having to explain, oh, well, this code pays this way and that code pays that way to your staff is very confusing and frustrating for you guys as well as for us. So our request more was to create that consistency amongst the codes.
I think that would be something where I'd have to see, like, the differences in how they're calculated, to be able to speak to it with any sort of math in it.
Right. So I'll use TSP, for example. It's a guaranteed 150%. It's irrelevant. So if we were to make that consistent with,
I mean, that's supposed to be consistent with SAISD, DWI STEP.
yeah, there's a handful
There's a
of them that are
handful
all set up that
call out
way.
Before on-call response.
So if we were to set them up to where they pay your regular rate, and then when you hit 40 hours or 80, depending on the officer, it will kick in and start paying your premium rate. But in this case, not only DWI, not only TSP, but every overtime code you have would allow vacation time as hours worked. So it would create that consistency on all codes would be vacation eligible overtime.
So is that what the proposal is?
Yes, we are recommending or proposing that vacation would count on all overtime codes. And we would calculate your regular rate of pay, and then once you exceed, it will pay your premium rate on the halftime for the FLSA.
But not on the straight time?
Correct. It'll pay at your regular rate, which does include your ad pays are paid out still. I know that's confusing.
Isn't that what the premium rate is when ad pays are?
Well, your ad pays are, depending on the type of ad pay, either a percentage or a dollar amount, correct? And so the premium rate then takes
I
your
guess
base pay plus
use-
all your ad pays, divides it by 2080, And that creates a premium rate. You take the premium rate, divide it in half, that's your halftime.
Right. But
Right.
when you just divide it by 2080, is that what you're suggesting to pay for all the straight time over? Or just based on the base rate?
I'm sorry, I'm not following your question.
So if, let me make sure that, if I get paid $10 an hour and I have ad pays that are $2 an hour, so really I get paid $12 an hour. Are you suggesting that the overtime would be 18, which would be it'd be 12.
Right, so your
plus,
regular-
Or are you suggesting that it would be at 16?
Your regular rate would be paid at your 12 as the straight time. And then we would have a halftime component in addition to the 12, which would be the 16 or whatever it was. I don't remember
Well,
the
it
number.
was, so $10 at $10 an hour plus $2 an hour ad pays. So that's 12. So the original 40 is paid at 12. Then say there's 10 more hours after that. So half pay is 6, we can agree to that. But the straight time for that 10 hours of over, are you suggesting to pay that at the $10 or the $12?
It would be paid at the $10.
Okay.
Right. And some of your overtime codes already pay that way. I don't know which ones off the top of my head. There's so many. And so, like I said, that is,
Is there a way that, because obviously we're going to have another meeting since,
I was gonna say, it seems like we're
Is-
settled on a lot of stuff,
Yeah,
except
yeah.
maybe this, and this is a lot of mathing that I don't get. So can we do a subcommittee to talk about this, and maybe even, I want to have an agreement to bring back next time to hopefully have done. So maybe a subcommittee even to share the agreement back and forth, do any final tweaks. I mean, we're gonna have to change section numbers and stuff like that.
And on that note, I think we're definitely in agreement. There's a couple minor clarifications that we'd like to go over in the current contract, some language that you might want to know about just for clarification that we could probably do today, that way you know. So I think a subcommittee is a great idea on both levels.
I know that what he was talking about as far as today, so we have,
we can go till 5. We have
okay,
enough left for a quorum, if that
I
helps.
still don't think we're going to get done today.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's go as long as we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we're doing that. I just,
You can subcommittee whenever you want, but I mean, I think we have to close this meeting.
do you mind if I come show you this example?
Please come and do that, yeah.
Okay, Brandon, do you want to go over the SRO?
I can, I think.
And so we'll subcommittee, before Brandon starts on that, we'll subcommittee, we can get together right after this to come up with a time. I know they do want to try to complete this as soon as possible.
So I think on the SROs, Veronica had a proposed provision. It was part-time officers serving as school resource officers, so I think we're saying the part-time provided in the contract is like the 12 positions, that the SROs would be included in that. Will receive a rate of pay determined by the city manager based on experience, market competitiveness, and subject to a reimbursement agreement with the school district. SROs may work an average of no more than 32 hours per week over the course of a calendar year.
I don't think we need to necessarily tie it to 12 as a maximum.
Oh, okay.
I don't think we have an issue, because there's more than 12 schools. I mean, if the chief was able to find more than that and needed them,
Okay.
then I don't think we necessarily have an issue there. Obviously, it's all going to be based on budget. And that as far as non-SROs, because SROs are going to be reimbursed. What we would counter is that it's not necessarily based on the city manager or the chief's discretion as far as the rate, commensurate with experience and whatnot. It's just based on the base rate of officers at the appropriate license. So it's, if you're a basic, you make the same base rate as, or you make the same total rate as a basic peace officer's base rate hourly, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I think that makes sense, but there was something about this, and I don't know, Veronica would probably be the better one to speak on it.
Because actually, right now, at 32 an hour, that's more than basic officer's base rate will be after a 5% raise.
Okay.
Their base rate should be, what I calculated out is 3160, which, when you get up to master, which hopefully, you know, if there's retired officers that are gonna go back and do that, they should be masters at that point. My calculation had that at 4132 an hour. So, I mean, that's pretty close to what I think was originally asked for. But we definitely don't want part-time people making more hourly, even at base. I know the officers make a premium rate and get benefits and those sorts of things, but
Yeah.
I think just the base rate.
Okay. Can we, because I can't speak on all that, I
Yeah.
probably need Veronica for that, so can we say that's a subcommittee?
Yeah, I know
Item
that
two,
was
I mean-
Veronica's, when I talked to her about it, is that full-time officers do get the benefits, retirement, the overtime premium rate. And so generally, across the organization, we see that our part-time employees on the hourly basis are a little higher because of that.
And then just to echo,
I don't know that it matters to us necessarily, but I definitely think we can discuss that more in subcommittee.
and just to echo something Lieutenant Kennedy said, if we have 4 master peace officers get hired as part-timers, each one of them would get paid that same rate. There wouldn't be a higher value placed on one because they had something else, because they're part-time. So each one, same level. I think it'd be easier for the city to pay that out to.
And then we still had questions as to, I mean, really it's up to y'all on y'all's end. But I would strongly encourage that in any contract, as far as SROs are concerned, or part-time SROs are concerned with SAISD, that they're covering training hours, because otherwise the city's gonna have to pay training hours, or we're going to tell them that they have to get their own training hours, including qualifications and use of force.
That's my understanding, is they are covering it all, but I mean, I guess that's subject to still be
Yeah.
negotiated with them, but that's the way I understand it.
Before we, I guess,
get close to wrapping it up, there's just a couple things, I guess, that we wanted to propose, just so that you know what's coming. We're gonna need some language change in the current contract under the appendix section for our drone. Right now, there's drone stipend for 4 officers. The police department, I'm sure you're aware, is in the process of adding a DFR program to the police department, the citizens of San Angelo, which would require drone operators to be sitting at a desk flying a drone. We want to include language that, to stipulate that it's drone team or drone tactical team only, that's only eligible for that stipend. So it's still 4, but if we don't get that language clarification, you're about to have a bunch of drone operators that are technically not responding to calls in the field, but they're.
Can you propose that language, since you know the technical?
I think if you just put.
Drone
if you
team?
If you just put team,
Drone team, or I think there's two definitions that I've heard. Right now, if dispatch calls us, they're like, drone team needs to respond to X.
So
I
only
think that would
drone
be-
team is eligible for the drone
yeah,
pay
it's,
stipend?
yeah, the drone pay stipend was for those people. It's a collateral team, not their normal duties, and they're going to be subject to on-call and things like that. And the DFR pilots are
That's their
not from,
full-time
that's
job.
that's their duty assignment or whatever for the
You may
day.
have DFR pilots that are members of the drone team, but we're still right now limiting it to 4 operators instead of like however many DFR pilots there are.
I don't see an issue with that. I mean,
It's just a language clarification. I think it would prevent a issue once the DFR program gets up and running.
right, yeah. I agree.
Could it be something, ad pay limited to drone team,
Members.
not their assignment? I'm trying to figure out how to word it.
So the DFR, as the DFR program's getting,
She's just trying to figure out
Yeah.
how to word it. Probably word it as,
drone team members only, or?
yeah, drone
Drone
team
teams
members.
member performing an additional duty to assignment.
I don't think you even have to go that far because
that's a
the
clarification.
DFR pilots aren't drone team members, or if they are, they're
Yeah, there may be,
drone team members,
or drone tactical.
drone team members subject to calls subject to responding in the field. Because the DFR pilots are not going to be responding with a drone to a scene.
Yeah.
They will be responding to
From
a
a
scene
desk.
from a desk
Right.
with a drone.
Yeah, I think I got you. Okay.
Just to prevent somebody 6 months from now saying, hey, I'm a drone pilot, where's my $50?
Right,
It's like, well, no, that wasn't our intention.
okay.
I think at some point, chief should have discretion, if he needs to add drone team members. But for now, the only number I know is 4.
Yeah.
So that would be something that
I
would
think
need
the
to be-
last contract limited it to 4. Okay, so we'll have to come back and we can amend that if needed.
What else do we want? This. We had proposed the last meeting to have some kind of tentative language that we can start contract talks with y'all prior to budget workshop. That way
Yep.
y'all can kind of have an assessment as to what the needs of the,
Yeah, I had that written down. I had already planned to put that
okay.
in.
I think that's the only other things we had listed. So I
Okay.
guess it's just up to when we can do the subcommittee and then committees and then the next meeting, Confer meeting, to actually make a tentative agreement so that we can get it to vote for our members.
Yeah. So just a few cleanup things on the term of the agreement. Are we making it effective October 1? Or is it going from January 1?
I mean, effective as soon as possible.
Yeah, and then we were gonna do, for the 5%, we're doing like some kind of,
It's the same thing we did with the original contract.
I want to say what
It's a
we,
signing
Do something
bonus
as of
where,
January 1 and then,
the raise was effective January 1, and we took a quarter of the amount, allocated it, divided it evenly amongst the officers.
yeah, we would prefer
And
to
they
get
got-
the actual raise implemented as soon as possible and divide whatever was saved between October 1 and whenever it's implemented.
As
And
a-
divide that
And I mean, and
equally.
hopefully we can get that implemented the next, we'll see. But we'd
think-
like
Looking at the end
to,
of
we'd like the
November.
contract to go from October 1st to October 1st theoretically. That would be
Well,
in line with-
unfortunately, I don't think we can do October 1 because that would need to be paid on the October 31st paycheck, and I know y'all still have to go to a vote. But November 1 start date is not out of question.
Yeah, I know there was,
but the agreement could be dated October
yeah, I was
1st,
saying
couldn't it?
make it effective October 1, but it's between October 1 and
This is how we
whenever
will
we,
allocate. and-
yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, sorry, the
I think we
contract can be
align it with
effective,
the
we'll
fiscal
just,
year, If that's what you're wanting.
because civil service
It makes more
doesn't
sense
allow
anyway.
back pay for
Right.
retroactive pay.
Right.
But there can be, for those,
yeah, we don't want that.
that time period from October 1 to whenever they take effect, whatever pay cycle that is.
Right, we'll stipend that out,
Yeah.
that amount again, like we
Yep.
did last time. We'll make it in effect as quickly as possible.
And then a couple other things, we did the open hiring deal, we have that amendment, but it wasn't ever actually, we just signed it as an amendment, not incorporated into the main agreement. So you'll see that as a red line, but that's all that is. And then we had that provision about reopening to do that, so we're gonna strike that. So just a few cleanup things like that, but I'll send y'all the red line version of everything we've talked about.
Okay. Is there anything else we need to discuss today? If not, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Do you all,
Need to set another meeting.
yeah. Yeah, do we want to set another meeting before we adjourn? Like, when
I don't know
can,
if we need to set it now.
We can.
We can discuss it after. Let's look at our calendars. I think it might depend on when we can subcommittee. So if you don't mind, if we can set that after, see how that subcommittee goes and then set the meeting. I'd hate to set it and then our subcommittee requires a second subcommittee.
okay.
So if you're okay with
Subcommittee,
that.
we're good any time, pretty much, I think.
Okay. So we can set a subcommittee date right after we adjourn, and then
Okay,
we can discuss potential dates that,
Okay.
if you'll just let me know if there's any blackout dates or something, I'll try to make sure we work around all of that.
okay. Then I'll second your motion to adjourn.
Can I motion?
Second.
All right.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This meeting is adjourned at 4:43.